Have you been experiencing internal financial struggles triggered by economic concerns? Are you feeling capped at your current income level and can't seem to realize your financial potential? Energy healer Jean Border has created an emotional freedom technique, or EFT, tapping protocol to help calm the inner voice that keeps you stressed. Claim your free copy at jeanborder.com/vow and say goodbye to those financial blockages. Welcome to another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, Energy Work to Better Your Business, hosted by energy healer Jean Border. It's not just about dreaming, it's about making those dreams a practical reality. Subscribe to us via your favorite network by visiting our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com. Now, get ready. Your journey to success starts here.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Jean Border, with another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, where we talk everything energy related to your business so we can help you better your business. I have a special guest with me here today. Surprise, surprise. But before we get there, I just want to remind everyone, if you're having financial tension in your life, before you make any big decisions or even small decisions about money, get yourself in a place of calm so you make a rational decision that's in your best interest rather than one based on fear or reaction. And the easy way to do that is click on the link below in the show notes for a free EFT tapping protocol on income, money, and it's just jeanborder.com/vow, VOW, for those who are listening and not looking at the screen. And now, on to my special guest. This is Lisa Erickson. And unlike some of my shows, which seem to be focused on business, I've made a conscious effort to get more energy workers in here. Now, we will still talk business, but we'll also weave in energy work because there's so much benefit your business can derive from just little energy stuff, right? Just a few energy protocols, a little bit of energy work to get your mindset right, to get your emotions right, to get your thought processes straight. Energy is an amazing thing. It really is. And on that note, hi, Lisa, how are you?
Hi, Jean. I'm great. And thank you for having me. And you're already getting me going with everything you're saying. I'm so excited to talk about this with you because our businesses are an extension of our energy. So there's so much interesting work you can do on yourself and on your business. So I love it.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I am an energy worker. I do both private sessions and workshops. I'm also the author of Chakra Empowerment for Women through Llewellyn publisher, which many of you may know. And I do work with individuals. I do a lot of trauma healing, women's energetics work, women's life phase work. But I also do a lot of manifesting work. And in that context, people's businesses come up a lot. And of course, I have my own business as well. So this whole relationship between ourself, our own energetic imprints, and our business and how it can create blocks or power is really interesting to me. And I was just really excited to see you focusing on that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. How do I say this? I mesh the worlds of woo-woo and very practical strategic business techniques. And both are important, and both can be fairly easy if you've just got a blueprint to follow, right? And all this woo-woo stuff, a lot of us just techniques that we've learned and we've become proficient at and we become expert in, and we can help other people with that stuff, right? So it's not really magic, it's just learned skills and building your intuition.
I couldn't agree more. It's really very technical. Just like you sit there and do your budget in your spreadsheet and it's something you can learn, right? Learning how to look at your energies and focus your intention in a way to shift them is something you can learn. And it really is technical. It's just a skill. Some people do it unconsciously. So when we see someone who really seems to manifest or build their business easily, they sometimes have these skills kind of automatically, and others of us have to learn them, but you can, for sure. Yeah.
And some sometimes you'll see families that seem to be really good at business. And that can be, yes, they learned the skill as a very young child, but it also could be some of that was inherited knowledge that came down, right?
Exactly.
Through the
Well, you can inherit. I do a lot with ancestral work. I feel like you can inherit gifts. You can also inherit blocks. So sometimes someone has a poverty mentality that they picked up from their family that's blocking their ability, even though they have a great product and everything going for them. Somehow they're not bringing in money, and it's really, there's some held beliefs there about not believing that, right? Or yes, you may inherit this natural ability to attract money. So it's
also, you can inherit fears of being seen, fear of being heard, fear of being noticed. And if you're trying to grow a business, those kind of get in the way.
Especially in this world of social media, right? I think that's such a huge one. I find it's often especially pronounced for women. Maybe you've seen that too. We have a lot of maybe fears about how we're perceived in terms of our conditioning. And then I often work with what I call the persecution block, meaning, I work with a lot of healers that are running their own businesses. And there's kind of this idea that what they're doing is too out there or too woo-woo. So that's not relevant to every business owner, but there can sometimes be this fear of putting yourself out there because almost this fear of persecution, even though in this day and age, that's not real, it can be held in there in a family history or a personal history.
And as those things show up, there are typically layers to them. So once you realize, oh yeah, it's not necessarily safe for me to market my business because then somebody's going to criticize me or the way I do it, or they're going to attack me. And so you work through whatever beliefs have created that, and then another set of beliefs come up and you have to work through those. So it's typically not a one and done process, right? That can be true for some things, but for deep-seated issues, a lot of times there are layers. And so you go through this and you realize, oh, look over here. I'm repeating this behavior over here. So maybe there's something else I need to work on to allow that behavior to no longer drive me, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's like you're creating something, you're putting something out there in the world, and that becomes your vehicle for personal growth as well. And it's really kind of amazing because you're getting this instant feedback. You're working through things at a pace that you maybe wouldn't have if you weren't putting yourself out there. And it's really quite a gift, although at times it can feel maybe stressful or challenging. If you can kind of view it in that bigger picture, it's an amazing journey.
There are so many ways that we can work through layers all by ourselves. But sometimes things just become, I'm going to say, big blocks where we just don't want to see it, or we don't feel like it's safe for us to see it. And so we just shove that aside. And so sometimes when you work with someone else, they can gently guide you through that or make it not be such a big, scary thing, right?
Yeah.
How do you work with clients? How do clients find you?
So clients find me through either my book, social media, or referrals. I would say at this point in my private session work, it's mostly referrals, and that's a great place to be, right? That takes time, though. Initially, I had to build that up through advertising and marketing and social media, et cetera. And I think, that's really the main answer on that, and I do just trust. It's sort of guided. I have a variety of different people for whom they're very into energy and they're already very well versed in that language, and others that are like, I don't know about this. I just thought I'd give it a try. I really don't know what a chakra is, and I don't really understand any of this, but I just wanted to give it a try. And so, like you, I really appreciate trying to make it accessible, trying to take the woo-woo out of it, and just focus on what are you doing with your attention? What are you doing with your intention and your attention? And learning how to gain some control over your attention and your intention is the starting point for working with your own energy and the energy of your business.
And the first thing that came to mind when you said that was so many of the people who come to me who have issues they want to work through, they focus so much on what they don't want, that's what they're creating, that's what they see. not necessarily creating, but that's what they see. So they see proof of that negative, and that takes over their mood, their thought process. So we can get them to shift to, what do you want?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love the question. Sometimes this frees people up. What do you want to feel when you get what you want, right? Because then that really frees up. And you can do that with your business overall. Like, why did you start your own business in the first place? Was it that you wanted more ease, more flexibility around your life? Was it primarily about abundance and prosperity? Was it about doing work that you love, feeling fulfilled day to day? You know, what people have different reasons for going into business for themselves. And so getting into what you want to feel and that as your starting point for manifesting. And then what do you want your clients, your customers, your buyers to feel as well? So that is everything, your website, your marketing, everything you're putting out there, making them feel that way. Does it carry that vibration? So working that in terms of feelings is a good starting point. And then the blocks. So like you said, you only see what's not working. Well, great. That's feedback. So what are you getting right now? You're getting a lot of people that can't afford to pay you? Are you getting nobody at all? Are you getting people who want something that you don't want to offer? You know, what is it that you're seeing? And then then we can use that as clues as to what may be going on inside of you. You have this big ticket item you're marketing. People are only buying the low dollar. Is there some part of you that is struggling with the worth of what you're offering? And we have some deeper wounds in there around self-worth that we can work on that will help you really step into that. What I'm offering is worth this. And then you will start being able to sell and market that.
While you were talking, my brain goes off on tangents, but what comes in my head, what comes out of my mouth, okay? I saw something where this guy was talking about if when you were born, you were given one job, and that was to take care of a specific human. And that human is you. How would you take care of that human when you wake up in the morning? What would you do to make that experience good for that human? What decisions would you make so that that human has the best experience of the day and feels safe and complete and happy and feel like they have worth? And that goes against what we sometimes are exposed to on social media, where everybody else is perfect, but we're not. Everybody else is a rich millionaire driving a very expensive car, and we are not. So taking care of that human, figuring out what's going on behind the scenes with that self-talk, that it sounds very easy, but sometimes it requires us to look at things we may not want to look at.
Yeah, really how we feel about ourselves. Yeah, and our culture is very focused on external achievement and accomplishment as our measurement of worth. And that can actually create paralyzing fears when it comes to your business. Obviously, you do need external measurements. You do need to be making a certain amount, et cetera, et cetera. But really being able to step back and focus on internally, are you able to take care of yourself? Are you able to achieve life balance so that when you sit down to work or walk into your store or whatever it is, you are in a place to really represent it? If you're not taking care of yourself, that leaks into everything else, or it leaks into everything else. So that self-care really isn't about working less, or it's not counter to working. And I think we have this sort of more hard work. That's the only way you succeed. And of course, there is hard work in relationship to building a business. But that balance is so important because it's really about being able to work smart and effectively, but you can only do that when you're in this clear place. You know your worth, you're in touch with your wisdom, then you're not just doing busy work to get it, just to do it. You're doing things that actually matter, that will actually benefit your business.
I keep coming back to self-talk, and I don't know why, because like I said, whatever comes in my head is what comes out of my mouth. Are there tools and techniques that we can utilize when our brain starts to circle with the negativity and that I'm not enough and it's not safe and they're going to look at me funny or they're going to criticize me? Where do we go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have kind of two answers to that, because I think there's sort of the long-term healing of that. And then there is the in the moment, what do I do to shift when I'm spinning out? In the moment when someone's spinning out, I like to guide people to learn some very basic chakra-based techniques. That's really one of my main modalities. So really, it's going to be about centering someone in the navel center and activating the fire element in the navel center. So just like visualizing a little candle flame just under the navel in the belly. And in the system that I work with, that chakra is actually linked to the mental body. So it's actually linked to the spinning. We think of it as being up here in our head, linked to the third eye, but that root chakra is physical body, sacral chakra is emotional body, and that third chakra, which I use the navel for, some people focus higher in the solar plexus, is mental body. So when you're trying to still it, it's like it's a flame that's being blown around by the wind, and you're trying to just quiet it down. And so that is one of the more powerful centering activities. You take several breaths there in the moment. Longer term, the way that I often work with that, say the negative self-talk, is, okay, what's the feeling behind that? And where do you feel it in your body? Often it's in the heart. So even though you're having the thoughts in your head, it's here. Or maybe it's just a kind of overall anxiety. You feel it in your whole body. And then we work on different ways for releasing that, healing that, sometimes externalizing that to talk with this part of yourself. There's a lot of different ways to help shift your relationship to that fear and that talk. What you're really trying to do is come to a place where that talk, it's just a part of you. You recognize it as a habituated part. You don't hate it. You're not trying to kill it. Like, that's not a great relationship to have with it. You're trying to heal it. You recognize it's an unhealed part of you, but it also isn't you. It's just a habit that gets triggered sometimes when you're under stress. And so we kind of put it in this protected place. I'm going over here with my hands for those of you who can't see. So it's like, okay, this talk is a part of me being triggered, but it's not who I am. And then we work on empowering that sense of, okay, well then who are you? You're this person with these gifts and these abilities, and really feeling and empowering that.
You mentioned them several times. So for those listeners who may not be as knowledgeable about these energy centers, can you do a quick visual or definition? Starting from...
Yeah, we can start with the root at the first chakra, and I'll first say that there really are multiple chakra mappings. So I'll just kind of map the 7 chakra one that's the most well-known in the West. But the root chakra, the focal point that I use, they're not all the same in different systems, is the tailbone, really the base of our spine, base of our nervous system. And it has to do with physical safety, but also then material abundance, including money and security. So when someone really struggles with that, we may be working there. The sacral chakra in the pelvic bowl has to do with a lot of different things, sexuality and sensuality. In the context of business, it has to do with creativity often, and fluidity, the ability to adapt when things aren't going exactly as planned. Then the navel chakra is personal power, energetic boundaries, and our ability to execute. And again, I'm really focusing in on the aspects of these energy centers that may be the most relevant to business. There's many other things you can do in relationship to relationships or, whatever. Heart is our relationships, and it is about our support and our network in many ways when it comes to business. Throat chakra is our ability to communicate our message. So sometimes you can have a really good sense of what you do, and you have a really hard time communicating it to others. So that's throat chakra work. Third eye is our vision and intuition. And then crown is our connection to purpose, could be spirit, depending on your value system, and belief, self-belief. And I just like to throw one more thing in there. The upward path is in spiritual traditions what's often taught. The downward path through the chakras is about manifesting, making something real. So you start with these if you have an idea for a business or a product, it starts as an idea up here. You're really bringing it all the way through all the chakras, your ability to express it in your throat, attract support in your heart, execution in your navel, adjust to changing circumstances, sacral, and root is you made it real in this world. You've created something that didn't exist before you created it. So often in business, we're working with this downward path, and you can use that as a framework for identifying, where do I get blocked? Is it talking? Is it visioning? Is it talking about it? Is it attracting support? Is it execution? Where do I get blocked? So, okay, so that was a lot.
No, that was good.
Yeah.
And one that I hear about so many times is the throat chakra.
Yeah.
Because even though people don't necessarily think in terms of energy centers, I use a generic term, energy centers.
Yes.
They can't get clear on their message. They're not sure who they should send it to. They don't know how to word it. They don't know if I should, all these things, right? So if that becomes something that you're aware of, maybe there are issues in the throat chakra that need to be cleared or released, or whatever words you want to use, whatever you feel comfortable with, but some kind of issue there that at some point in your life or your history made it not safe for you to speak your truth.
That's right. Yeah. People who grow up, for example, in a home where there was maybe dysfunction of some type, alcoholism or mental health issues, often develop the pattern of speaking in terms of like, what will keep me safe in this moment? Or what can I say that calms everybody down? So often we have these patterns of speaking for people pleasing and to stay safe. And we need to kind of work through that to be able to just say what we want to say and what we want people to know about our business or about ourselves. So I do chakra work around that in terms of empowering that, but also different exercises like, again, we talked earlier, what do you want your customer or client or buyer to feel? And then what are just keywords? Don't try to write whole sentences. Just what are the words that, are related to those feelings that you want other people to feel? Start there and then work those keywords into whatever you're writing. Don't overthink it. People read quickly. Just make sure those big words are in there of how you want them to feel.
And that goes back to something you said earlier that I wanted to reiterate. When you set up your business, you decide how you want your business to make you feel, what you want it to give to your world, what you want to experience through your business. So when you have decisions to make about this path or that path, well, which of those paths, which of those choices would allow you to feel the feelings that you want your business to give you? Which of those choices will allow you to experience more of what you created your business to experience? And the same thing with the clients you want to attract. Will this set of clients bring you those feelings? Will you be able to flow those feelings out to those clients, and those are feelings they would like to experience? So not every client is your client.
Yeah.
Some clients are somebody else's client, and you are so focused on, I must help everyone sometimes, that you take on clients that would be served better with someone else, and your life might be enhanced by allowing them to work with someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's this kind of scarcity mentality we can get caught in, rather than believing, oh no, there's always more out there for me. It doesn't just because this person goes to someone else. It isn't a loss for me. It's clearing space for me to now attract the right person, and they're going to the right person. And, they're often in business trainings, Starbucks is used as an example. Like in this country, there was not a huge market for coffee shops. People bought Folgers and drank coffee at home. Starbucks basically created a new market. There are now actually, although they dominate, a lot of other coffee chains that do very well. It created a whole new market, right, that didn't exist. And so that's the idea, that it isn't about being in competition with anyone else. It's about finding your niche and believing, oh, if there's more people working in this space, that means the market is expanding. They're not my competition. We're all growing this together, and I'm attracting the people within that are perfect for me. And you just let go of that competition piece because it's fear-based. It's fear-based. It can be helpful to look at what your competition are doing sometimes as a learning process, but not that energy of comparing, because that is so fear-based and it creates so much fear and it blocks your ability to just do what you do and say it the way you want to say it. So that is such a huge thing in business, that comparison piece, I feel like.
Also, if you try to exactly mirror what someone else does, you might have a tendency to move away from your true self and your true message. So yes, you need to pay attention to what everybody's doing. I totally agree. And you take the best of what fits you, and what doesn't fit you or what feels off to you, let that part go. That might feel great to that person or that business, right? We're all different. We all attract different clients. How do you want to feel working with clients? And do your clients make you feel that way? And maybe it's time to release some of your old clients if they don't bring joy to your world. I'll say it that way.
And I think we go through phases too. So my client that I resonate with has changed over the years, right?
Yeah.
So it
all the time.
it changes over time. You change, your abilities and what you want to offer change. So it's letting that progress.
Yeah, I started out working with people with migraines because that's how I got into energy work, was trying to find a way to let go of all the migraine stuff that the doctors never could take care of. I mean, they give you symptom relievers, but they don't work with cause. Mm-hmm. So I worked with migraine people, and then over time that morphed into other things, right? So that
is exactly how I got introduced to energy work, not so much as a practitioner, but as a participant. Migraines coming out of college 35 years ago that no one could solve. And I ended up, a very unusual doctor at the time really said, why don't you try a yoga or meditation class, which was not that common then. But I was in New York City, so there were some available, and it just opened up my whole world. So it is interesting how we get led to something, or how we come to something and where we end up.
Yeah, I've shifted so much, different years, because I'm 95% referral. I'm like you. I know that's you have great results with a client. They tell their friends come, they tell their friends, so whatever great results happen for someone and they tell someone, that's how my business sort of shifts. It goes in waves, right? And at different times I have different large groups of topics, I'd say. One of them that's big right now is in the real estate market. It's house clearings.
Oh,
yeah. So for house flippers, real estate investors, to flip their house more quickly. Also for short-term rentals like Airbnbs, clear the energy out of those as the renters leave. So once a month or whatever the property needs, clear those out so the occupancy rates go up. Now I also work with chronic illnesses as well. I'm not a medical doctor. I do not diagnose, treat, get in the middle of the doctor's world, none of that stuff. But the body was created to heal. If you make conditions right in the body and allow it and get rid of whatever is in the way, and you open up those energy pathways, amazing things happen with the physical body. It remembers how to heal.
Yeah. Yeah, all healing is self-healing, right? And we've even using Western conventional allopathic medicine, energy medicine, alternative means, they are all trying to help your own body heal. That is the process of medicine, right? So it is so interesting to kind of approach it from that, and that you want to affirm that over and over. I love the house clearing. That's so interesting. What a great, that's so clear that would aid and enhance someone's experience in that home. And as people are walking through it to purchase, their feeling of it. And I never really thought about that. I do it with my own spaces, but that's so interesting. And I feel like that's so relevant to other things too. Like if you're feeling blocked, I have found often doing an energy clearing on the space I'm working in. And I'm wondering about people who have retail situations, a retail store, like recognizing that interaction between your own energy and your space and the space that your client is experiencing or your customer is really important. So clearing is such an important part of that.
Also in rehab facilities, you want to talk heavy emotional stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, when I work with those spaces, it's like, just like such a relief for the space to allow that energetic stuckness or whatever to flow away.
Yeah.
It's
really, so it's truly catharsis, because that's what it's supposed to be when we heal. Let it go out. The universe then recycles it, right? Decomposes it. It moves into something else. It doesn't stay negative energy. Yeah, but really being able to move it. So important. I work with a lot of healers, which in their businesses, and that part of what I do is practitioner training for energy healers. That's a huge part of the learning process, making sure you know how to clear whatever it is you're working with, so you're not taking it on. A lot of people who work in that space will end up with fears that I can only do 5 clients a week, because that's what they're experiencing, that they get overwhelmed. But really, they just need to get better at their boundaries, at their clearing, and in their faith in their ability to do that, so that their capacity can increase. So that can be a big part of it as well.
Boundaries. I use that word. I also mentor people. I use that word a lot. You have to decide what you want your business to look like. You have to decide how many hours a day or a week you want to spend on time with clients, or time with marketing, or growing the business, or time that you absolutely will spend with family that business cannot encroach.
Right.
Right? Boundaries are huge. And if you don't set boundaries for yourself, it's very easy to lose sight of what you're in business for in the first place.
Exactly. That is the one challenge of having your own business, right? You're never off the clock. Now, increasingly, everyone feels like that in other environments too, because of all the different ways we can be reached. But it's really important that you have this set sense, and then your own energetic boundaries, that there's this real sense of when you're just focused on yourself, and when you're in an interaction with someone, that you're perceiving and sensing, intuiting everything you need to, but you don't take anything on. You're not responsible for taking on anything they're experiencing.
And that's huge. So many, I call them young healers, inexperienced healers, feel like they need to take it on themselves and process it out. It's not yours.
Yeah.
Or
that's the only way to do it. Or I often find, there's a lot of talk about being an empath, right? But there can be this kind of sense that if you're sensitive, you're an empath, that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. But no, you can learn ways to work that your empathy becomes a great gift, right? And it doesn't have to be a liability. You can actually learn boundaries, energetic boundaries, ways of holding yourself, so that gift, it truly is a gift, not something you have to manage your life around. Oh, I can't go out in public, or, oh, I can only do 5 clients a week, or whatever it is. Yeah.
That's fun. I tell this story all the time. When I was younger, I didn't understand how anybody could stand to work in a hospital. I just couldn't. It was just beyond me to think of anybody willingly working in a hospital environment, because it would imbalance me so much when I'd walk in the door. And I didn't know why, right? And that's true with a lot of people. You feel weird in certain places and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Right? But as you get more knowledge and you start to understand, and then there are tools to help you, number 1, become aware.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, decide how you will respond, react, exist in certain circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But the first part is becoming aware of when you feel, I'm going to use the word weird, off, not like yourself.
Yep. And what situations or what people in your life tend to trigger that. So then you can shift that on your end. You may not be able to change the other person. That's not our responsibility, but you can change on your end your relationship to it. And that applies to all sorts of relationships, including those in business, for sure.
And who do you want to work with? I come back to, if you're in a room with someone who offers you something and you don't feel comfortable, don't do business with that person, because that feeling most likely will never go away, and you're going to feel uncomfortable with every business deal you do with that person. There's something in you that doesn't quite resonate with that person, whether it's a belief or something in their past that you don't think was quite ethical, whatever it is. Trust yourself. You have intuition. You have knowledge. You pick up on cues. You just don't always trust what you're being made aware of.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because to tap into that self-knowledge, that trust, you have to have cleared your fears or be aware of them, right? Because if the fear is, oh no, I need to do business with everyone who wants to do business with me, right? Or I won't have enough money, you'll override that intuition out of that fear, right? So that's, again, where that personal work around your own self-talk and your own emotional patterns, maybe family history, whatever it is, benefits you, because it allows you then to tap into your intuition and not override it out of fear. Yeah.
This is such interesting stuff, you know?
It absolutely is. It's such a pleasure to speak about it with you.
Yeah, I think the more we speak about it in public areas, the less woo-woo it becomes, and the more normal these ideas and concepts are. Because anybody can learn this stuff. Energy modalities. I'm certified in quite a few, right? And it's just, this is the process. You learn the process. You practice what you learn. You practice the skill. You become an expert in the skill. You use it to grow your intuition. And you get to the point where you can help other people. But there is just a process. It's not like, oh, I'm going to look at you and now you're this weird magic person. That's not typically how things work, right? It's like learning to walk. There are steps, and you follow the steps, and eventually this little blob that could only lay in a crib can now walk and run and play soccer or football or baseball or whatever it is. It's just a process to get you there.
Exactly. And we all have different gifts, right? So Mozart learning music is maybe different than the average child, right? So you may have natural energetic gifts, but you still have to go through a training process to learn how to utilize them safely, wisely, right? And everyone's going to have different strengths or weaknesses within that field, right? So, I totally agree.
And different nuances. Where I might pick up on one thing with my background and training, you might pick up on something else. With the same person as a client, we might have different aspects of issues that we're working on, and both benefit the client. It's not an either or. I have one client, she loves energy work, so she works with me and acupressure as a chiropractor, all these, a shaman.
I love when someone's able to do that, right? If someone has the means to do that, it really is such a powerful thing to combine different modalities. People use different language, right? So something may just click when one person says it. It's all complementary, right? We're a holistic being. That's the whole point of holistic healing, right? Is to address all levels of you. So being able to work with different people that help address different levels of your being is so helpful. Yeah.
So when people come to you, how do you start working with a new client?
Yeah. Well, we tune in. So we have a sort of guided meditation, and I can feel right away certain things. And then we just talk. But as they're talking, I can feel the emotions. So if it depends what we're working on, a lot of my clients are coming for sexual trauma healing, manifesting, women's energetics works. Those are sort of my main specialty. So we'll talk through what's brought them and what they're hoping to get from it and what their background is. And I work a lot initially with, where do you feel things in your body? Because when you ask someone that, they're really tuning in, not just to their physical body, but their subtle body. So that's their entrance in. And then we'll focus in on particular energy centers, trying to help them just feel something in that space. And that's the starting point for working on transforming later on. And for some people, in terms of connecting to their energy body, whether it's the blocks or the new empowerments, some people are very visual. So the visualization is what works for them. Some people, it's more somatic, and holding their hand on that part of their body and breathing into it is helpful. Others are very word-based. So doing an affirmation around I am worthy or I am powerful while focusing on a certain energy center is what resonates. So I'm also in those early sessions trying to ascertain which access method is the most effective for this particular person. And then we kind of adapt and adjust from there. Yeah.
It's always amazing how different the clients are.
Yeah.
And normally the people talk about the clairsense, the clairaudient or whatever. Typically, for me, things just become a knowing. And I don't know why, but just like with the podcast, whatever comes into my head is what comes out of my mouth. I don't know why. I don't know who needs to hear it, but for whatever reason, the conversations go in such a way that there's somebody out there that needed something that was in the conversation. And that's how it is with my clients. For me, it's a knowing, but sometimes I'm always writing. Typically, it's just numbers and letters. It would mean nothing to anybody. But sometimes I'll draw a little picture and I can't draw. But sometimes I will write a weird word, but it means something to them. It means nothing to me in my normal world. But while I'm working with their energy field, there's this knowing that it's important, right? So every client is different. And one of the sayings that I keep coming back to is whatever you believe to be true is true for you. Mm-hmm. I don't have to believe anything that you believe to be an energy person who can provide value for you.
Right.
I'm not here to change your beliefs.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not here to change your beliefs. I'm not here to judge your beliefs. I'm just here to do whatever's supposed to happen right now to allow your body to be in its optimal state. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love all of that. I feel the same way. And then when you're talking about how intuition comes to you, right, these words or these images, I think that's the other interesting part about it. Just like a client has different ways they might connect to their own energy body, we each have different ways that knowing comes to us. For some people, it is very visual. For some people, it is words. For some people, it's just sort of this impact. Or they do feel it in their own body. Some people do feel, they'll feel a pain in their body and they'll be like, is there something going on with your back? So people have all different types of intuitions. You have to know how to work with yours and then clear out afterwards, right? To clear out that you didn't take anything on. And that's the other part of it, is knowing how your intuition works. You talked about maybe the person you don't want to do business with. For some people, that might be an emotion, like you just feel an aversion. For someone else, it might be a thought. For someone else, you might get a stomachache when you talk to that person, right? These are all different forms of receiving knowing, inner knowing. So learning how your inner knowing shows up for you is such an interesting part of the process.
Also, you could find yourself leaning back away from the person.
Right. Yes.
And that's your body giving you a huge signal.
Yeah.
No, that is not your person, right? If you're leaning in and you're not even realizing it, maybe there's something there for you. But you mentioned something about people with clients. I tell my clients when I'm working with them, I'm like, whatever thought comes into your head, please tell me, okay? Because you're not going to mess up my process. You're not going to, ruin anything. You're not going to get me off track, because maybe that thought is meant for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to if you're feeling something in your body, just mention it. It won't mess me up, but I don't want to have to feel it in my body because you didn't tell me it was there and I was supposed to be working on it, So
trust whatever arises.
Yeah, it's like that. I don't know what's going on, but I've got this really sharp pain in my back. Oh yeah, my back's been hurting for the last 10 minutes. Well, why? I don't need to feel this stuff. But if you don't tell me, somebody's trying to get my attention so that I can help you out. It'd be much easier if you just mentioned, oh, something's going on with my back. Yeah, that's funny.
No, I know. And that's part of building up that trust, right? And also often people have blocks, like we were talking about earlier, around expressing themselves. They can even be trying to please us as the healer. Like, no, just tell me the straight truth.
Exactly.
That's what we can deal with. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to tell everybody, I can multitask really well. Whatever you want to say, just say it. It doesn't stop me from working. Now, we all work differently. Some people need silence. Some people need not to be distracted. I'm used to a lot of stuff going on at once, right? And so a lot of times something that comes out of their mouth will just be the piece that needs to shift just a nuance of something so that we hit deeper into an issue and clear it out more easily, because it's obviously ready to come, or it wouldn't have, it wouldn't have come to their awareness.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if people are interested in what you do, how can they find you?
Well, I have a book, Chakra Empowerment for Women, so that's a good starting point, and that's available most places. And I currently have a class in this fall coming up, starting November 17th, that ties to the book that I teach every year. So that's a good starting point as well. My website is enlightenedenergetics.com, and Instagram and Facebook, it's Chakra Empowerment. So Enlightened Energetics or Chakra Empowerment, they'll all connect to each other.
Cool. And you happen to have resources for the listeners if they're wanting to start delving into this stuff?
Yes. I definitely have my website, Enlightened Energetics, have some free guided meditations that you can experiment with to see if this kind of guided work is helpful for you. And so one of them is around boundaries, one of them is around clearing. So you can experiment with those and see if those are helpful for you.
Imagine that. And both of those came up during our conversation.
Exactly.
We are coming up near the end of our time together, but before we close, do you happen to have any final thoughts for our listeners?
I think really just in the energy of positivity that I feel from you too, for you too, and I love this name, Practical Dreamer's Journey, just really to combine that practical and the dreamer. I think that's it. Allow yourself to dream and dream big, believe, right? Allow inspiration. Don't be afraid of it. But then integrate that with grounded reality, practicality. And when you put those two together, it's a process. Your dream can come true, maybe not tomorrow, but over time, if you combine these two, you can make that journey to your dream coming true. For sure.
Those words just fit me so well. It's like, I know it's a really long name for a podcast, but it just was like, oh my gosh,
No, it's perfect, right? It really tells you a lot. Yeah.
That's my take on it. So I'm glad that you...
No, I react the same way to it, yeah.
And I think it's an energetic thing. I think energy workers are used to working in that realm. Yes, you want to dream it. Everything is a journey, but if you don't take the practical steps, it's just a dream.
Yeah.
You got to focus on what you want.
Upper.
Yeah.
Yes. It's in the upper chakras. It never gets to the lower reality.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed our time together talking energy work today.
Thank you, Jean. I did too. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. And to my listeners, I want to thank you for coming once more. Every Tuesday we drop a new episode. So let me know what you think, or if you know someone who must be on the show, have them get in touch and we'll talk. But until next time, this is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey.
We trust you enjoyed this episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, Energy Work to Better Your Business, hosted by energy healer Jean Border. Remember to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey.